Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So the first research concept that I'd like to share with you today is the idea that charitable bequest decision-making emphasizes visualized autobiography brain regions. Now, let me explain a little bit about the origins of this research. The origins actually came from this dramatic difference in behavior. People who are substantial donors oftentimes have no gift whatsoever in their estate plan. So, for example, here, and this is US data, nationally representative, showing folks age 52 and above who are substantial donors, making gifts over $500 a year to charities. Among that group who are over age 50, more than 90% have zero gift going to charity in their estate plan. So from a research perspective, this suggests that the decision-making processes are clearly different between these two kinds of decisions. So then I decided to do the next logical step, sticking people in the brain scanner and finding out how they make these decisions. Now, for this first piece of research, what we were doing is to compare the decisions that they would make with, say, just small current gifts or maybe a volunteering decision, and to see how is that different when they're thinking about including that charity in their will as a bequest gift. So what I'm going to show to you next, this is the regions of the brain that were differently activated by the charitable bequest decision. And we're going to take kind of a flight through the brain, starting at the nose and moving back. And you'll notice here that we get through the first half of the brain and there's no colored areas. This is where the logical, mathematical reasoning takes place in the prefrontal cortex. No big differences there. It's not until we get, in fact, to the back third of the brain that we see our first area of difference. And you'll see the first area about here. And when that lights up, that is an area referred to as the precuneus. It's used when we take an outside perspective on ourselves. And then the very back of the brain, we'll see a whole lot of activation right at the very back. And that is a visual area. In this case, it's an internal visualization difference because the visual field isn't changing. Now, I'll just say for any neuroimagers in the audience, here's our actual results. And by the way, this is peer-reviewed published research at this point. To summarize, we've got these two areas of activation, one which is involved in internal visualization, in fact, even dreaming, and one which is involved in taking an outside perspective on ourselves. You put those two together when those are simultaneously activating. What does that tell us? Well, it tells us that people are engaging in what you might call visualized autobiography. Now, we see this same kind of activation simultaneous that takes place in other circumstances, in other neuroimaging research, such as, for example, when older adults are shown photographs from across their life, if they are able to recognize it and vividly relive the event being pictured in that photograph, then both of these regions will simultaneously activate. Other studies show that they will simultaneously activate when people are mentally traveling back in time or recalling autobiographical personal events. So that's where we get this sense of visualized autobiography taking place when people are making this decision to include a charity in a will. And beyond that, the more strongly these regions activate, the more likely they are to say, yes, I want to include that organization in my will. Now, of course, there are other approaches to finding out how people think about charitable bequest decisions. My sometime co-author and colleague, Dr. Claire Routley from England, she also wanted to know how people think about gifts and wills. She took a different approach. She didn't use a neuroimaging machine. She asked them. So I won't give you her whole 400-page in-depth qualitative dissertation about the interviews that she had with people and asking them about why they had named the charities that they had named. But I will tell you that even without a multi-million-dollar neuroimaging machine, she found essentially the same result. The summary sentence from that dissertation was, when discussing which charities they had chosen to remember, there was a clear link with the life narratives of many respondents. So very different research methodologies on different sides of the Atlantic, and we still get the same result. That is, charitable bequest decision-making emphasizes visualized autobiography brain regions.